carried. And we come to item 4, which is the public forum. And I'd like to welcome Bex to Prospo, who will speak on behalf of the Drinkable Rivers New Zealand regarding the work of the organisation. And I see that you brought us little prezzies and gifts.
Always.
Thank you very much. Just what I need, another bumper sticker. Yep. Fire away. Welcome.
That's not us. No.
You sure?
I mean, I can try it.
Okay.
I don't break my chances.
Okay. Thanks. So normally for public forum it's 5 minutes, but I thought, well, I'll just do the courtesy and allow you 10 today.
Thanks.
Yep.
Firstly, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. My name is Bex Prospo, as Glenn said, and I'm project manager for Drinkable Rivers. I'd also like to introduce Carmen here from Villa Maria School. We'll talk a little bit about that a little later on, and Russell from our team. I also would just like to send apologies from our founder, Michael. He desperately wanted to be here today, but had an urgent family matter to deal with. So, I'm here today just to give you an overview of our work and to highlight some opportunities for us to collaborate on what we perceive as one of the most important issues facing Christchurch, New Zealand, and the world. And once we've got slides, I'll kick it. Can we get that full screen? All right. Drinkable Rivers is a movement led by real-time data which focuses on the stories of New Zealand's waterways by giving our rivers a voice. So many of you will be familiar with our founder, Michael Mayo, local entrepreneur and passionate environmental advocate. Michael conceived of Drinkable Rivers as a moonshot vision of something he wants to achieve in his lifetime. Thank you. Of something he'd like to achieve in his lifetime. Ultimately, he thought that targets aiming for swimmable rivers are simply not good enough, and our failure to achieve those targets in the majority of our waterways pretty clearly reflects that. So in 2018, Michael partnered with co-founder Anaki Goodall and his social enterprise catalyst organization Seed the Change to sponsor the development and build of a prototype real-time water quality measuring device, a device which we hope will be the first of many. This device, dubbed Oracle One, was sited at the head of the Atakaro Avon River in July of 2019. Since it was grounded there last year, it began taking real-time measurements of a number of key indicators, including pH, nitrates, temperature, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, and redox. These measurements are taken every half hour and are supplemented with regular manual tests for additional contaminants, such as E. coli. This data is currently being displayed in a dashboard which you can access right now through the data link on drinkablерivers.nz or directly through this URL here. The dashboard is in its 1.0 form, but we've got huge aspirations for it. We're currently working to secure funding to improve both its aesthetics and its functionality. Our aim is to future-proof this display so that we can add additional sensors and aggregate other relevant data from sources like CCC, ECAN, NIWA, MetService, and so on. In its fully realized form, this dashboard will provide a compelling snapshot view of our waterways' real-time health, while also providing the full, robust, open-source data to be used for research and education. In December of last year, we partnered with Villa Maria College in the development of a pilot Kaitiakitanga program to focus on Corf Reserve and the riparian zone surrounding Oracle One. We're now working closely with their staff to craft learning outcomes which provide cross-disciplinary opportunities for their students, like allowing Carmen to join us here today. Some of the tangible outcomes of this collaboration will include river reports and regular hands-on water testing, riparian planting and long-term management of Corf Reserve, collaborative crossover opportunities with other schools, such as the Urban Eel program at Russley Primary, and a collection of learning resources to support Villa in maintaining this kaitiaki role long into the future. Our intention with this pilot program is to create a self-sustaining roadmap, which can be adapted and applied for use with future oracles by additional schools and other sections of rivers in future years. In short, I hope to make myself redundant. Drinkable Rivers work is not in hands-on remediation as such, but rather in information, mobilization, and collaboration. We acknowledge and are humbled by the amazing work which is already being done in the water advocacy and restoration space in Christchurch, and it is our goal to support that work in the best ways that we can. In doing so, we can also support organizations like CCC. So this is where we are now. We have our prototype sensor at the head of the Atakaro Avon River, because we understand that we have to start there if we have any chance to restore the rest. But we're working quickly to find funding for additional sensors for the Avon, the Heathcote, and beyond. Because it is with multiple data points that we can really start to add value and to achieve our vision of giving our rivers a voice. Organizations like CCC and ECAN have incredibly robust periodic data that's great for tracking trends over long periods of time. Our aim is to supplement that monitoring with the power of real-time data, which is particularly useful during different weather and contamination events. So say we have a major storm event, and a half hour later, our sensors show a spike in a particular contaminant. It's registering across the Atakaro Avon River, but we can quickly see that it spikes here near Wainoni. With that information, we know that it's being introduced somewhere east of Richmond. And these results and supporting tests over time can help us to isolate contamination issues. Maybe something's being introduced through Dudley Creek, or through a stormwater drain on Avonside Drive. Suddenly, we begin to have a much clearer picture of our waterways and what they're telling us. We can then make use of these innovative sensors to help us make decisions on where and how best to focus restoration efforts to improve the health of our rivers. And throughout the process, we can provide this high-quality, real-time data to those that can best make use of it in the community. Water quality is really topical in New Zealand right now, and the space is fairly crowded. So we're working to support some of the key players who are already in this space, and we hope to soon be able to provide these groups with real-time data to inform remediation works in their local areas. Currently, we're working to support them through established initiatives, like the Mother of All Cleanups, which is adding a schools component this year, something we're helping them to deliver. But on the other side, we're also establishing links and actively working on collaborative projects with commercial and tourism-focused organizations like these, as well as creating collaborative opportunities for learning and well-being with initiatives like these. Because we see the incredible educational, health, and commercial potential of having thriving rivers running through the heart of Christchurch. And in creating these links across sectors, we hope to best serve both our waterways and our citizens. With the theme of storytelling underpinning all of our activities, these are some of the key objectives for us in 2020. So we really want to get both our software and our hardware optimized. We'd like to continue further development in our partnership with Villa Maria and creating that framework that we can roll out to other schools. And then also really building on those collaborative relationships. But of course, in achieving these goals, we face some challenges. Like everyone in the sector, we face funding shortfalls, and we have to spend more time than we'd like raising funds rather than focusing on our core work. One of our best opportunities for funding in 2019 was through CCC's Innovation and Sustainability Fund, for which we spent weeks on an application, only to then learn that all of the funds were allocated before the application deadline. This is indicative of one of our larger overall challenges. We've had considerable difficulty in navigating CCC systems and processes, often losing time, which for us is absolutely precious, chasing the wrong personnel or using the wrong channels. For instance, we used every connection we could find to establish a pathway to get planting consent for Corf Reserve, before finally being told months later that the riparian zone there didn't even fall within CCC land. On a smaller scale, this navigational challenge is reflected even today in this process, as we requested a deputation for today back in November and only found out on Friday that we were no longer able to have a deputation slot and were instead being moved into the public forum. But we're here today because we believe that you can help us remove some of these obstacles. We need better pathways to navigate complex CCC processes such as consenting, which will only get more complicated for us as we put additional sensors in the river. We need funding resources to enable us to continue this very challenging and important work, as well as human and informational resources to help us access and interpret existing water quality data. Your active support in these areas would both inform our work and enhance our ability to support your work. The issues facing our waterways are complex and urgent, and we need everyone to decide to be part of the solution.
Council liaison person.
Thank you for taking the time today to learn about drinkable rivers. We are so grateful for your support in helping us to achieve our vision to give our rivers a voice. And we look forward to building greater links for collaboration between drinkable rivers and Christchurch City Council. Thank you.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you very much. Look, there is a minute and a half. Anybody got a question? Aaron?
I've got one quick question. I went to your website and looked at the Oracle One data, and it's great because you explain each of the reasons why they're there. The only one it doesn't give is that part of the river drinkable right now?
Absolutely not.
So, yeah. So then it would be good to have that as
sure.
whether you do it as a red to green, where it is currently, how far away from, I'd drink it, but most wouldn't.
I wouldn't recommend it,
Okay.
but absolutely, that's one of the things we're looking at with those dashboard upgrades. What we want is for when you hit that landing page, there's something really compelling there that appeals to 9 to 90, right? That shows you exactly what you can see in that snapshot view. And then as you drill down into it, you can get this very robust data, which can be used by yourselves, other water organizations, and community groups for actual restoration efforts as well.
Yeah, because I know you say we shouldn't, but every other mammal would.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Why?
Water. Every other mammal would drink it.
Yeah.
Well, they probably will, but I'm not sure it'll be good for their health. I mean, in the Corf Reserve area, I've been living there 15 years, and 15 years ago we had rather large eels there,
Right.
tuna. They're not there anymore.
Right.
We found one tiny little one, about that big. So they may be drinking it, but it's not good for their health.
Right.
So that's really good, and we can tell you drink the water, Aaron. It was concerning to see those nitrate levels, actually, I must say. They were nudging up to towards 3.5, which is not good. I would like to suggest that we request that the council give you a liaison person
That would
from
be
our
amazing.
staff, that a person who can help you navigate things like funding applications and information around consenting and sharing data.
That would be fantastic.
So, yeah, I'd like to, do we formalise that in the resolution, or do we just call for? Put a note, that'd be good. And also, can we just pass to the chair of the Innovation and Sustainability Committee to follow up on that funding application? Because it may be able to come into a new round, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it may be able to get into the new
There'll be
round. There
Yeah.
is a new round.
Yeah.
It's just that before the council election, there were a stack of applications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
we
new
I mean,
understand
it's
the
open the whole
reasons
time.
why,
It was just
yeah.
already allocated.
So the new
yeah.
round will be in July,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so maybe if you could pick that up, then maybe they don't need to do all the work all over again.
I'll just
Sarah?
got a quick question.
Yeah.
If council knows that there is a risk of contamination from, say, an old landfill site that's close to the river, outside of the river, it's in the public agenda today, how quickly should we be acting to make sure that that doesn't cause contamination of our river and estuary?
I mean, I'll admit my bias on there and say as quickly as possible. I believe, and I won't speak for the next presentation, but I think there are some solutions being proposed to issues exactly like that, immediately following by Adriana. But I would say we want to be acting as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
It's hard to answer that without a specific contaminant and a level in an area, but as I say, this problem is incredibly complex, and one of the things that I have learned over my time with drinkable rivers is that this is a multi-pronged issue. It is not as simple as it is being conveyed by a lot of sources. It's not nitrates and phosphates from big agriculture. It's a lot of sources. And so our objective really is to tackle every one of them as quickly as we can.
No, and it's great work that you're doing. I know you've been to the Christchurch West Melton Zone Committee as well.
Yes.
And I think it's admirable that you're reaching out, you're partnering, and you're creating a program that can be used by others in the future. We've got a resolution up there. Yanni, we've run out of time for questions. Is it a quick one?
Yeah, well, I just thought it's great to see the young people coming.
yeah.
So I just wondered if there was anything that you'd like to say.
So my family and I lived for 5 years in Angola. We brushed our teeth with bottled water and we drank in brown water. And we were a group of the wealthier people that lived in Angola. So when we came to New Zealand, it was this great green place and you can drink the water and do that kind of thing. But it's really sad to see that not only are rivers not swimmable, but they're not even drinkable. So it is a really pressing issue that I'd like to see addressed.
Yeah. Hey, well said. Those are very sobering thoughts. Thank you very much.
And just in terms of the resolution, I just wondered if we could get our staff to work with them around the Community Resilience and Partnership Fund, the CRAP Fund, and also the Endowment Fund. Because those are funds that it's quite hard for groups to actually apply to. That we actually need staff to work with them to get the applications in.
Including in providing information on those two funds.
Yeah, that's good.
Staff need to work with them. There's no application process
Including
for those
working
funds.
proactively around the Community Resilience Partnership Fund, around funding options. Is that all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Yeah, Yanni? You second that? All right. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's carried.
Thank you
So we've got an action out of your visit here, and thank you very much. And thank you for all the incredible, proactive, heartfelt, passionate work that you're doing so well.
Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
you.
Okay, and our second public forum today is Adriana Hess, who's going to talk to us about using pervious concrete as a viable alternative to stormwater retention ponds. Welcome, Adriana.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm going to do you the courtesy of 10 minutes as well.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yeah, so welcome.
So my name is Adriana Hess. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business and Engineering, a Master of Urban Resilience and Renewal, and I'm the only NRMCA certified pervious concrete contractor in Australia or New Zealand. My mentor, David Ligori, he's been pouring pervious concrete for the last 15 years in San Francisco, and he's a pervious concrete craftsman, which is the highest certification you can obtain by NRMCA. He also works with the San Francisco City Council on green infrastructure guidelines, pervious pavement specifications, and he's actually pouring a municipal car park for them right now. We would like to share with you the learnings from the last 15 years. So this is pervious concrete. That's not pervious concrete. That's pervious concrete. So you can see the infiltration rates here are pretty spectacular. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 liters per minute per square meter. And this initial infiltration rate is really important to see how this installation is going to perform over time. So this is a visual of how we calculate permeability, because over time, organic debris will get in there like sand or grass or leaves. Did we go off full screen? Possibly. Just go here and we'll try this again.
We'll stop the clock.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Did you find out that
So
consultation?
what we expect to see is over about 10 years, these installations will become less permeable up to about 95%, because that organic debris is still spongy and pervious. It will still work, but if you're starting with 600 liters a minute, that means that over time you move to 6 liters a minute, which is still acceptable. It's when your mix doesn't pass validation testing and you have lower initial infiltration rates that you're going to be in the business of maintaining these things fairly regularly. So let's say we have a 1,000 square meter parking lot. We want to convey stormwater to a 10 square meter retention pond. And let's see what happens in a 100-year storm in Christchurch. So if 13 centimeters falls in 24 hours, it's going to stack up because you're essentially trading area for depth, and it's going to stack up to 130 centimeters. And let's say we have really typical Christchurch soil. It drains at like 2 millimeters an hour. It's going to take you 27 days to infiltrate that water, which becomes a problem when we have another storm 2 days later, and then it overflows and it suddenly overloads your municipal drainage systems. So instead, what if we were to move that retention pond underneath the pavement itself? So you're treating rainfall where it lands, and in that same storm, you have 13 centimeters to deal with instead of 130. Same soil, it'll take you 2.7 days to infiltrate all of that. And it's important that we design the site properly, because the one thing that will destroy pervious concrete is if you design it that asphalt will be running off into it. These two pictures are of the same exact parking lot, and on the left, that's the lower elevation, and you can see the staining from where those asphalt fines have gotten into the pores, and they're plugging it up, and it's moving toward the edge of that installation. Whereas on the right, it only receives rainwater, it looks great, it's still pervious, and to look closer, you can see all of that tar has completely destroyed the permeability on the left, and on the right, you can see some grass, maybe some leaves, but it still functions just fine. Now, the San Francisco City Council has adopted pervious concrete into their building code, and it must adhere to 3 ASTM tests. And actually, that's a core held by one of their council inspectors that was taken from a parking lot that we poured near the San Francisco Bridge. I would also like to take the opportunity to tell you that the San Francisco City Council has extended an invitation to you to create a relationship to talk about the governance implications of using pervious concrete if you wish. They're actually pretty excited about talking to New Zealand about this. So what happens when motor oil drips on pervious concrete? There are several studies. This one's done by Coventry University. And the researchers found that the microbial population that grows in the base course, it eats polyaromatic hydrocarbons, so it biodegrades before it reaches the bottom of the installation. And these researchers recommended using pervious pavements instead of conventional asphalt and concrete because it prevents contamination to ground and surface waters. So there's no incentive for developers to use pervious concrete because it costs 15% more than conventional. So if we can allow them to transfer their retention pond and place it underneath the pavement itself, they can realize economic gains by maximizing their built area while also treating stormwater where it lands. So I humbly request that we add pervious concrete to the building code as an acceptable alternative to stormwater retention ponds. However, it must be installed by certified concrete contractors with proper site design, and each design needs to be proven with infiltration data from the field. And I can show you this model if you're interested. And each mix needs to be validated by ASTM testing to make sure that it passes quality testing. Thank you.
Kia ora. Very interesting. We've got time for a couple of questions. Tim.
So in San Francisco, so that with their building code, so that on your slide, next steps, modify the building code. So this is what they, I mean, we to a degree do the same thing with regards to the building inspectors, etc. So this would just be the same regime, if you like, as what is happening now.
Correct.
Okay.
We're looking to use this instead of conventional drainage systems, which is also more resilient to earthquake, because next time we have an earthquake, your pipes are going to shear and you're going to end up with flooding again, whereas this stuff still works even after it's given a shake.
Yep.
Sarah?
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to carry on and clarify, so does the building code need changing to make this usable?
Yes.
Because if so, that's not council. So that's central government who does the building code. We do the district plan and the regulations under the district plan. So it might be that we need to get you to talk to the right staff to see which process needs to change. So if it's something that central government needs to do, then we could help advocate for changes in that way, because it seems to make a lot of sense. If it's something that we can do and make changes in, say, our district plan for those permeable surfaces, which I think it probably will be, then that's something that we could look at doing and putting on our list of district plan type changes for that.
I like
So
that idea.
yeah, we need to work out exactly where the blockage is.
One of the
Yeah.
inspectors from council that I spoke to said that if we could get this rolled up with like a new build and consent it with, say, the driveway, it would
Yeah.
then become part of the building code sort of by default. But
Right, yeah, we need to work out exactly where that sits and whether it's something that we can change as council that will make it easier for builds in Christchurch, or whether there needs to be something changed nationally to mean that we can do it. I don't know.
Yeah, so we could
Yeah.
actually
We need to
request
work out
a
how that
report
works.
It'd be good for
on
our
that
staff
for
to
our
talk
next
to our
meeting.
Yep, that would be
on
cool if you could do
the
that.
viability of that and what's a good way, suggested way forward to get these things happening. So
Yeah, so we get a note or
should
something on that.
could we do that? Thanks, Sarah. James, and then Yanni.
Kia ora, Adriana, and welcome back to council.
Thanks.
You used to work here, didn't you?
I did.
Look, I didn't know about this until now, so I find it fascinating. And this may be a simple question or basic question, but is this product being used at the moment?
It is. The designs all sort of vary. So
I mean, in New Zealand.
in New
Christchurch.
Zealand, yes. We're actually, there's a company out there that is pouring it right now, but as far as I know, they're not certified by the NRMCA, and I have some questions around their actual site design to make sure that they're not putting in mixed asphalt, etc. I have worked with David to create a relationship where we can use his mix that's been tested in San Francisco for the last decade and a half and implement it in Christchurch using stormwater modeling and making sure that we're building these things to withstand storms and hydrology purposes. So essentially the answer to your question is we're pouring a patio in 2 weeks. So if you want to come dump a bucket of water on it, feel free.
Okay, thanks.
Yanni?
Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, a similar question. So just in terms of your presentation and the diagram and the pictures that you've showed, would places like Linwood Pool, where we're building a car park and then a big stormwater swale, would that be the sort of place that you would think we could just do something like what you're suggesting?
Absolutely. That is the best application for it.
Right. And what would, so if we wanted to do it, like, how easy would it be to, yeah, it's a good point, Tim, we'll make sure that's not in the contract. But just in terms of, I guess, picking up on James's point, so like if council said, cool, we're really excited by that, we'd like to trial it or do something with it, what sort of time frame would we be looking at in terms of saying, yeah, let's give it a go versus actually getting something on the ground?
I would say probably 4 to 6 weeks we could come up with something if you really wanted to smash it out. That's if you already have your infiltration data and your groundwater tables and all the geological surveying. Because if your geologist says, you know, we need more than just your standard base course for pavement because it relies on that base course for its strength. If they need you to dig down, we need to adhere to those rules as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of balls in that court, but probably about 2 months, I would presume.
Okay, thank you very
That's
much.
really good to
Yeah.
know. So you have been working with council staff,
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
and that's going well.
Yeah.
So we've called for a report in the next, well, hopefully the next meeting or two, on ways that we could perhaps advocate for you with the building code changes. Look at our district plan. I know we did try and get this sort of thing into the district plan last time, but of course we didn't have control over the plan. It was the independent hearings panel. So we can keep having a go at that. And I mean, like you say, if you look at a development, they can hopefully fund the extra cost through releasing the land that would have been a detention basin into more housing. So that's where they pick up the cost benefit.
That's actually where working with council would be the most beneficial, because I'd really like to work with stormwater engineers and consenting to give them the opportunity, these builders, the opportunity to use this stuff instead of allocating, 30% to a giant pond, which is then going to overflow in the next storm anyway.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Well, look, thank you so much for coming in, and that's been very interesting. I think the committee's found that quite fascinating, so thank you very much for the work you're doing in the environmental field, and we'll see where we can help.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, nice to see you. Right, so now the
I think it'd be helpful if we asked staff to look at some
that?
potential projects where it could be trialled or considered. I mean, like Linwood Pool's a classic example where we've had to constrain the space available for recreation based on having to build a massive stormwater swale
So would you like to put
where
that
we're
in
building a
number,
big asphalt car
number
park.
2 then, to move that council consider areas appropriate for trialling?
Yeah, I think that
This-
would be really good. Current projects that may be able to be able to used as a trial.
Yep. We've got, for example, we're building the new St Albans Community Centre, and the car park there is going to be pervious material, which is good.
So if it's able to be used, it's clearly not a building site.
We
Sorry?
don't, no, you have an option to use it, but if we want to make it compulsory, it would be quite good.
This is another level of just doing like Gobi block style. This is taking in the stormwater, which is
Do we need that word trial?
what could we use as an example?
Or just use.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've done that in my driveway. I've got gravel. I'm the only one in my 4. Everyone else has got asphalt right up to the door, and I used gravel because it's pervious. So do we have a mover for this? Request council staff consider current projects where this system could be used. Oh, no, I don't want to. We're a pervious system. Yeah. Yep. Is that all right, Mike?
Not,
All good?
not capitalised, not, like it's a particular.
Yes. Yes.
Generic.
Tim, move it. Seconder.
Yeah.
Phil, sorry, he pipped you at the post there, James. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed, that's carried. Great.